The sound of scissors slicing through hair was the only noise in the silent testing room. Black strands fell onto pristine white test papers like drops of midnight on fresh snow. Hannah Morrison sat frozen, her hazel eyes wide with disbelief as chunks of her carefully maintained shield disappeared with each metallic snip. 10 seconds later, all 4 of them would be unconscious on the floor. But that moment hadn't arrived yet. Right now. Hannah's hands trembled against her desk, though not from fear. 3 years of perfect control, 3 years of invisibility, 3 years of suppressing every instinct screaming inside her, all unraveling with each cruel cut. "Such pretty hair for such an ugly mouse," Victoria Hayes whispered, her breath hot against Hannah's ear. The scissors gleamed under fluorescent lights as another lock tumbled down. "Too bad you've been hiding behind it all this time." The SAT testing room at Millbrook High School in Pennsylvania held 30 students, each theoretically focused on the exam that would determine their college futures. In reality, 29 pairs of eyes were locked on the spectacle unfolding in the back corner. Some filmed discreetly with phones hidden under desks. Others watched in horrified fascination. None intervened. Mr. Sullivan, their 70-year-old proctor, had chosen this exact moment to develop a suspicious case of selective blindness. His gray head stayed bent over his newspaper, occasionally releasing a theatrical snore that fooled no one. Hannah knew this wasn't random. Nothing Victoria Hayes did was ever random. "Hold her still," Victoria commanded. Zoe Chen grabbed Hannah's left shoulder while Paige Williams secured the right. Their manicured nails dug in hard enough to leave marks through Hannah's oversized hoodie. Marcus Torres positioned himself in front, blocking any escape route with his football player bulk. The trap was perfect. Almost. What none of them knew, what Hannah had spent 3 years ensuring no one would ever know, was that their victim could have ended this before it began. 1 movement, 4 pressure points, 10 seconds maximum. The knowledge burned in her muscles like acid. Instead, she sat perfectly still as more hair fell. "You know what I love about mice," Victoria continued, working the scissors with theatrical slowness. "They're so helpless, so pathetic. They just freeze when predators come calling." Snip. Another chunk gone. Although, Victoria paused, noticing something that made her perfectly glossed lips curl into a crueler smile. "What's this?" The scissors had revealed what 3 years of careful styling had hidden. A thin white scar ran from behind Hannah's left ear down to her neck, normally concealed by strategic layers. Under the harsh classroom lights, it looked like lightning frozen in flesh. "Oh my God," Zoe gasped with delighted malice. "The mouse has been hiding secrets. What happened? Hannah, did you try to hurt yourself because nobody loves you?" Hannah's breathing changed. The shift was subtle from panicked, shallow breaths to something deeper, more controlled. Her terrified posture remained the same, but something fundamental had altered in the space between heartbeats. "Bet she got that scar running away like a coward," Victoria added, encouraged by Hannah's continued silence. "That's what mice do, right? They run and hide in their little holes." Mr. Sullivan turned a page of his newspaper. The rustle seemed impossibly loud. 3 years. 1,095 days of careful camouflage. Hannah had transferred to Millbrook High halfway through freshman year, under circumstances no one questioned, because no one noticed the quiet girl who ate lunch alone, who partnered with teachers for group projects, who ghosted through hallways like she was apologizing for taking up space. The invisible girl, the mouse, the nobody. Exactly what she needed to be. But Victoria Hayes had a problem that required a specific solution, and that solution sat trembling under her scissors. The queen of Millbrook High hadn't studied for the SAT. Why would she? People like Victoria didn't need to study. They had money, connections, and when those failed, they had fear. "You're going to share your answers," Victoria had whispered during the test instructions. "Every single one. Or I'll make your life hell." Hannah had ignored her. Fatal mistake. Now, as her protective curtain of hair littered the floor, Hannah fought a war no one could see. Every instinct screamed at her to move, to fight, to show these bullies exactly what kind of predator they'd cornered. Her father's voice echoed from years of training. "Control isn't about holding back, baby girl. It's about choosing when to let go." But letting go had consequences. Rebecca's face flashed through her mind, beautiful, laughing Rebecca, who'd never walk again because Hannah had chosen to let go for just one moment. "Why so quiet?" "Mouse?" Victoria grabbed a particularly long section near Hannah's crown. "Usually you're muttering those weird little prayers or whatever." They weren't prayers. They were mantras. Control. Breathe. Remember. Never again. "Maybe she's too stupid to talk," Marcus suggested, earning laughs from the others. "I mean, why else would she dress like a homeless person? Look at that ratty hoodie." The hoodie had been chosen specifically for its shapelessness, hiding the lean muscle underneath. The baggy jeans concealed legs that could generate 800 pounds of force in a single kick. Everything about Hannah's appearance was calculated to broadcast harmlessness. "Actually," Paige said with mock sympathy, "I think she's just grateful for the makeover. We're doing charity work here." Snip. More hair gone. The scar fully visible now. "Seriously, though," Zoe leaned in closer, studying the mark. "That's not a normal scar. That's like medical or something." Victoria's eyes lit up with new cruelty. "Oh my God. You're right, Hannah. Did you have brain surgery? Is that why you're so weird? Did they remove the part that makes you normal?" Hannah's hands had stopped shaking. They rested flat on the desk now. Fingers spread in perfect stillness. The change was so subtle that only someone trained to read body language would notice. Unfortunately for Victoria, she was too busy enjoying her performance. "Wait, I know," Victoria announced loud enough for half the room to hear. "I heard about this girl at her old school. Some psycho who hurt another student so bad they ended up paralyzed, had to transfer schools and everything." The words hit Hannah like physical blows. Her chest tightened as memories flooded back the sickening crack of bone. Rebecca's scream cut short, the way her best friend's body had crumpled like a broken doll. "They say she went crazy during some sports thing," Victoria continued, completely unaware she was dancing on a landmine. "Just snapped and destroyed this other girl's life. Probably gave herself that scar out of guilt." Hannah's eyes closed, behind her lids. She wasn't in a testing room anymore. She was 11 years old, standing in a ring that smelled of sweat and ambition. Her father shouting instructions, her mother's proud smile. Rebecca across from her, laughing and begging for a real match. Just once, between best friends. "Please. Han, stop holding back. I want to see the lightning fist everyone talks about." "No, Becca, it's not safe. Come on, I'm not made of glass. Just once. I promise I'll block it." She hadn't blocked it. "Hello, Earth to Psycho Mouse." Victoria waved the scissors in front of Hannah's face. "Did you mentally check out having a little breakdown?" Hannah's eyes opened, for just a moment. Victoria saw something that made her step back involuntarily. The terrified mouse was gone. In its place sat someone else entirely, someone with eyes that had seen violence, caused it, and made peace with its existence. Then it was gone, replaced again by fearful submission. Victoria convinced herself she'd imagined it. You know what? Victoria raised the scissors higher. This is taking too long. Let's just... That's enough. The words were quiet, barely above a whisper, but they carried weight that made everyone freeze. Hannah hadn't moved, hadn't raised her voice, but something in those two words shifted the entire dynamic of the room. Excuse me, Victoria's voice pitched higher with outrage. Did the mouse just squeak at me? I said that's enough. Hannah's head turned slowly, meeting Victoria's gaze directly for the first time in 3 years. Put the scissors down. Walk away. Last chance. Marcus laughed nervously. Yo, did she just threaten you? I think she did. Victoria's shock transformed into rage. The little nobody thinks she can tell me what to do in case you forgot. Mouse, I own this school. My father owns half this town. You're nothing. Less than nothing. Your father owns buildings, Hannah said calmly. He doesn't own people. Want to bet? Victoria's free hand grabbed Hannah's newly exposed scar, nails digging in. I could destroy your whole pathetic life with one phone call. You'll be lucky to get into community college after I'm done with you. Hannah didn't flinch from the pain. You already tried to destroy it. You failed. What are you talking about? Freak! The Fitzgerald Essay Award. Hannah's voice remained eerily steady. You submitted my essay as your own last year. Changed the name. Kept everything else. Victoria's face paled. You can't prove that. I don't need to. You know. I know. That's enough. Girls, Mr. Sullivan's voice cracked across the room, finally roused by the open confrontation. Is there a problem? No problem, Mr. Sullivan, Victoria called back sweetly. Just helping Hannah with a hair emergency. The teacher's watery eyes took in the scene, 4 students surrounding one, scissors in hand, hair covering the floor, and decided he hadn't seen anything worth reporting. Well, hurry up. Test time is limited. He returned to his newspaper. Several students exchanged disgusted looks at his obvious cowardice. You heard him, Victoria hissed. Test time is limited. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to share your answers, or I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of monster you are. Monster, Hannah's head tilted slightly. Interesting choice of words. Yeah, monster. I did some digging after you rejected my generous offer to be friends freshman year. Found some very interesting stuff about a young MMA fighter who went psycho and destroyed her training partner, Rebecca Chen. Wasn't it 16 years old? Full scholarship to Penn State for martial arts, until you put her in a wheelchair. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Several students shivered without knowing why. Don't, Hannah warned, her voice dropping to barely audible levels. Don't say her name. Rebecca Chen, Victoria repeated slowly, savoring each syllable. Your best friend, the girl whose life you ruined because you couldn't control your temper. Is that why you hide here like a coward? Afraid you'll snap again? Hannah's hands were no longer flat on the desk. They'd curled into loose fists, knuckles white from pressure. A trained observer would have noticed her thumb positioned outside her fingers, the mark of someone who knew how to throw a proper punch. She forgave me, Hannah whispered. Did she? Or did she just say that? Because what else could she do? You took her legs. her future, everything, all because you had to show off. Shut up! The famous lightning fist, Victoria continued, drunk on the power of causing pain. Youngest champion in the state, 32 wins, 0 losses, until you decided winning wasn't enough. You had to destroy. I said, "Shut up!" Hannah's voice cracked like a whip. Half the class jumped. The other half held their breath for 10 seconds. No one moved. The air itself seemed to vibrate with potential violence. Then Hannah did something unexpected. She laughed. It started as a quiet chuckle, building into something that raised goosebumps on exposed skin. Not the laugh of someone amused, the laugh of someone who'd found clarity in madness. "You want to know what I did to my friend?" Hannah asked, her voice carrying new weight. "You want to know what kind of monster I am, what I'm capable of?" Victoria's bravado cracked slightly. I already know. Everyone's going to know." "No." Hannah stood up slowly, her movements liquid and precise. "You don't know anything, but you're about to learn." The transformation was instant and complete. The hunched shoulders straightened. The defensive posture shifted into something predatory. 3 years of playing prey evaporated like mist under sudden sun. What remained was a warrior who'd simply been waiting for permission to be herself again. "Sit down," Victoria ordered, but her voice shook. "Sit down right now or what?" Hannah stepped out from behind her desk, with dancer-like grace. "You'll cut more of my hair, spread more rumors, take more of my work and claim it as yours." "Marcus!" Victoria's voice pitched toward panic. "Stop her!" Marcus Torres had been Millbrook's starting linebacker for 2 years. 6'3", 220 pounds of muscle. He stepped forward with confidence born from size advantage and 4 years of bullying smaller kids. "Yo, you need to chill," he said, reaching for Hannah's shoulder. "Just sit back down and—" His hand never made contact. Hannah moved like water finding the path of least resistance. A slight pivot, a redirection of his momentum, and suddenly Marcus was stumbling past her, off balance and confused. He tried to recover, spinning back with a wild haymaker that would have knocked out most people. Most people weren't Hannah Morrison. Time seemed to slow as she watched his fist approach. Her father's lessons echoed through muscle memory. "Violence is easy, baby girl. Control is hard. Choose wisely." For 3 years, she'd chosen control, hidden her strength, suppressed her training, buried the fighter under layers of calculated weakness, all because of one moment when control had slipped and her best friend paid the price. But sometimes control meant knowing when to let go. Marcus's fist passed through empty air as Hannah flowed around it. Her counterstrike was surgical, a precise hit to the nerve cluster in his shoulder that sent his entire arm numb. He yelped in surprise and pain, stumbling backward. "What the hell?" He cradled his dead arm, eyes wide with shock. "What did you— Pressure point," Hannah explained calmly. "It'll wear off in about 5 minutes, unless you want me to hit the other arm too." "You little—" Zoe charged from behind, scissors raised like a weapon. Hannah didn't even turn around. A backward step, a slight lean, and Zoe's momentum carried her past. Hannah's foot swept out, catching Zoe's ankle. The bigger girl went down hard, scissors clattering across linoleum. "That's assault!" Paige screamed. "Mr. Sullivan, she's attacking us!" The teacher looked up briefly, took in the scene, and returned to his newspaper. "I don't see anything. Finish your tests." Hannah almost smiled. For once, his cowardice worked in her favor. "You're insane." Victoria backed away, finally understanding the magnitude of her mistake. "You're actually insane." "No," Hannah corrected. "I'm trained. There's a difference." "Stay away from me." "Why, I thought you wanted to see the monster." Hannah advanced with measured steps. "The psycho who hurt her friend. The dangerous freak who should be locked up. Well, here I am. Victoria, come and get me." Victoria tried to run. She made it 3 steps before Hannah moved. What happened next took exactly 10 seconds. Second one, Hannah's hand shot out, catching Victoria's wrist in a grip that spoke of years holding heavy bags and climbing ropes. Second two, a twist and pull brought Victoria spinning back, off balance and terrified. Second 3, Marcus tried another attack, protecting his queen. Hannah's palm strike to his solar plexus folded him in half. Second 4, he dropped to his knees, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Second 5, Paige grabbed Hannah from behind in a bear hug. "Got her! Someone help!" Second 6. Hannah went limp, dropping her weight. Paige's grip loosened for just a moment. Second 7. That moment was enough. Hannah twisted free and swept Paige's legs. Second 8. Paige hit the ground hard, head bouncing off linoleum, her eyes rolled back. Second 9. Zoe was back up, charging again with pure rage. Hannah's spinning kick caught her in the stomach. Second 10. 4 bodies on the floor. 1 girl standing. Silence. The entire room held its breath. 29 students and 1 deliberately oblivious teacher tried to process what they'd just witnessed. The mouse had become a lion. The prey had revealed itself as the apex predator. Hannah stood in the center of the carnage, not even breathing hard. Her butchered hair framed her face in jagged chunks, making her look wild, dangerous. The scar on her neck seemed to pulse with its own light. "Anyone else?" she asked quietly. No one moved. "Good." She walked back to her desk with the same calm precision, sitting down as if nothing had happened. "I'd like to finish my test now." The pencil in her hand moved across paper with steady strokes. Around her, 4 bullies groaned and stirred, none seriously injured but all thoroughly defeated. The security cameras that Mr. Sullivan had forgotten about recorded everything, including the 3 years of harassment that had led to this moment. But Hannah wasn't thinking about cameras or consequences. She was thinking about a promise made in a hospital room 3 years ago. "I'll never fight again, Becca. I swear." "That's not what I want, Han. I want you to stop hiding. Stop punishing yourself." "I hurt you. I can't." "You made a mistake. One moment doesn't define your whole life. Promise me something else. Anything. Promise you'll protect yourself. And if you ever see someone else being hurt like I was hurt, promise you'll stop hiding." The pencil paused over question 37. Hannah glanced at Victoria, who was conscious but frozen in terror on the floor. Promise kept, Becca. She returned to her test, unaware that 6 phones had captured everything. That within hours she'd be viral. That her carefully constructed invisibility was shattered forever. At this moment, all that mattered was the feeling of being herself again. The fighter had returned. The viral videos hit social media before the test period even ended. Invisible Girl destroys 4 bullies in 10 seconds, spread across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter like wildfire. By the time Hannah finished bubbling in her last answer, her phone on silent in her backpack had exploded with hundreds of notifications. She didn't know. She was too busy trying to stop her hands from shaking. The adrenaline crash hit as Mr. Sullivan finally called time. 3 years of suppressed fight-or-flight responses flooded her system at once. Her carefully maintained control crumbled. As reality set in, she'd just destroyed her cover, exposed her past, and confirmed every fear that had kept her hidden. "Everyone remain seated," Principal Coleman's voice boomed over the intercom. "Security is en route to the testing room. No one leaves until we sort this out." Hannah watched the 4 bullies struggle to their feet. Marcus still couldn't feel his arm. Paige had a growing bump on her head. Zoe clutched her stomach, face green. But it was Victoria who concerned her most. The queen bee sat curled in a ball, rocking slightly, tears streaming down her perfect makeup. "I became the monster they said I was." 2 security guards entered, followed by Principal Coleman and Vice Principal Martinez. Their eyes swept the scene, hair covering the floor. 4 injured students. 1 girl sitting calmly at her desk. "Hannah Morrison," Coleman's voice was carefully neutral. "Come with us. Please." She stood. Movements controlled again as she passed Victoria. The other girl flinched violently. "Don't hurt me," Victoria whispered. "Please, I'm sorry. Don't." "I'm not going to hurt you," Hannah said quietly. "I never wanted to hurt anyone." "Miss Morrison, now." Coleman's tone brooked no argument. The walk to the principal's office felt endless. Students peered out of classroom windows. Teachers whispered in doorways. Everyone wanting a glimpse of the mouse who'd roared. But halfway there, Hannah's phone rang through her backpack. The ringtone made her stumble a song she hadn't heard in 3 years. Only one person had as a designated tone. "I need to take this," she told Coleman. "Absolutely not. You're in serious. It's Rebecca Chen." Hannah's voice cracked. "Please, I need to answer this." Something in her tone made Coleman pause. He nodded once. Hannah fumbled for her phone, hands trembling. "Becca, you absolute idiot." Rebecca's voice was exactly as she remembered, warm and bright despite everything. 3 years of hiding and you blow it for Victoria Hayes. Really? How did you? Hannah, you're trending #1 nationwide. I've watched the video 12 times. The spinning kick to that girl's stomach, perfect form. Becca, I'm so sorry. I promised I wouldn't. Stop. Rebecca's voice turned serious. I'm calling because you need to hear this before you spiral into self-hatred again. Are you listening? Yes, I'm proud of you. The words hit harder than any punch. Hannah's knees nearly buckled. You protected yourself, Rebecca continued. You showed those bullies that actions have consequences. And from what I'm reading in the comments, you've inspired about 1 million other kids who've been where you were. That's not something to be ashamed of. But I lost control. No, not like before. I've watched the video. Hun, you had perfect control. You could have really hurt them, but you didn't. Every strike was measured. Every move calculated to disable without permanent damage. That's not losing control. That's mastery. Hannah leaned against the hallway wall, tears flowing freely now. I miss you so much. I miss you too, which is why I'm transferring to Penn State's physical therapy program 20 minutes from Millbrook. Surprise. What? Becca, you can't. I can, and I am. Already enrolled for fall semester. We have a lot of catching up to do, starting with you teaching me that nerve strike you used on the football player. From a wheelchair. Especially from a wheelchair. Do you know how many disabled people get targeted because bullies think we're helpless? We're starting a adaptive martial arts program. You're teaching." Despite everything, Hannah laughed. "You're still bossy, and you're still an idiot who thinks she deserves to suffer forever. Now go face whatever music the principal's playing. Call me after." "Becca, thank you. Thank me by stopping the guilt trip. I need my best friend back, not a martyr." The call ended. Hannah wiped her eyes, straightened her butchered hair, and walked into Coleman's office where a small crowd had gathered. Her parents sat in corner chairs, her mother's face unreadable. Her father's jaw clenched. The school resource officer stood by the window. 3 school board members clustered near Coleman's desk, and on the computer screen, the video played on loop. "Sit," Coleman ordered. Hannah sat. "In 15 years of education," Coleman began, "I've never seen anything like this. 4 students injured, classroom disrupted, viral videos making our school look like a war zone. What do you have to say for yourself?" Hannah met his gaze steadily. "Check the security cameras." "Excuse me, the hallway cameras. The ones from the past 3 years. Then check Victoria's phone, and Marcus's, and the others. You'll find hundreds of videos of them harassing students. You'll see them stealing homework, destroying property, making kids' lives hell. And you'll see me keeping my head down, never fighting back, until today. That doesn't give you the right to defend myself." Hannah's mother spoke for the first time. Former Marine Captain Sarah Morrison didn't raise her voice, but everyone heard the steel underneath. "My daughter was assaulted with a weapon. She responded with minimal force. I fail to see the problem." "Minimal force?" Board member Peterson sputtered. "She put 4 students in the nurse's office." "They'll recover within hours," Hannah's father added calmly. Master Sergeant David Morrison, retired, had taught hand-to-hand combat for 20 years. "Trust me, if she'd wanted to cause real damage, we'd be having this conversation in a hospital." "The point is," Coleman started. "The point is," the resource officer interrupted, studying his phone, "I'm getting reports from students, dozens of them, all describing years of bullying by these 4. Several mention reporting it to administration with no action taken." Coleman's face paled. "There's more," the officer continued. "The Hayes girl apparently submitted plagiarized work. Multiple instances. The Chen girl has videos of herself destroying other students' art projects. Williams has a cloud folder labeled blackmail material. And Torres," he paused. "Let's just say his text messages contain multiple admissions of assault. None of that excuses. It establishes pattern and motive." Sarah Morrison cut in. "My daughter was targeted by serial bullies who finally picked the wrong victim. End of story." "She's a trained fighter," Peterson protested. "She has a responsibility. She was 11. Hannah spoke quietly, but everyone turned to listen. "When the accident happened, I was 11, a child who made one mistake in a supervised sports environment. I've punished myself for 3 years, hidden who I am, let people hurt me because I thought I deserved it. Today, Victoria brought weapons into a testing environment and assaulted me while staff deliberately looked away. So yes, I defended myself. With training I've spent 3 years suppressing. Because Rebecca Chen, the girl I hurt, called me yesterday and made me promise something." She pulled out her phone, found the message, and read, "Stop letting guilt make you weak. The world needs strong women who protect others. Be who you were meant to be." Silence filled the office. "The viral videos," Coleman said slowly, are already causing problems. News vans in the parking lot, parents calling. The superintendent wants answers. Tell them the truth, Hannah suggested. Millbrook High harbored systematic bullying for years. One student finally stood up. If that's a problem, maybe examine why. You could have killed them, Peterson insisted. But I didn't. I used exactly enough force to stop the assault. 4 attackers, 1 defender. 10 seconds, no serious injuries. Check with any self-defense expert that's textbook restraint. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Sophia Williams. I'm a sophomore here. Victoria's group has tormented me since freshman year. Thank you for standing up. You've given dozens of us hope. Another buzz, then another. Soon her phone was flooded with messages from students she'd never spoken to, all sharing similar stories. Principal Coleman, the resource officer said, reading his own flooding inbox. We have a bigger problem than one fight. We have what looks like systematic failure to protect students. The Morrison girl might have done us a favor by bringing it to light. Coleman slumped in his chair. What do you want, Miss Morrison? Hannah thought carefully. I want to finish my senior year without hiding. I want the bullying policies actually enforced. I want Mr. Sullivan investigated for deliberately ignoring assault. And, she took a breath, I want to start a self-defense club for any student who's been where I was, scared, alone, unable to protect themselves. Absolutely not, Peterson began, but Sarah Morrison raised a hand. My daughter has instructor certifications in 3 disciplines. Her father and I would volunteer as advisors. Liability insurance would be covered under standard athletic policies. And given what's coming to light about safety failures at this school, teaching students to protect themselves seems prudent. The media attention, Coleman started, will be positive if handled correctly. David Morrison noted, school acknowledges past failures, implements new policies, empowers students, turns a crisis into an opportunity. Hannah's phone rang again. This time, the caller ID made everyone freeze Channel 6 News. Don't answer that, Coleman ordered, but Hannah was done taking orders. Hello. Miss Morrison, this is Janet Chen from Channel 6. No relation to Rebecca. Though I've followed both your stories, we'd like to offer you a platform to tell your side. The video's already everywhere. Wouldn't you rather control the narrative? Hannah looked around the room at administrators who'd failed their students, at parents who'd never taught their children accountability, at a system designed to protect itself rather than the vulnerable. Yes, she said clearly. I would. Coleman lunged for the phone, but Sarah Morrison blocked him with a look that could freeze flame. Wonderful, Janet continued. Can you come to the studio this afternoon? We'd like to do a segment on bullying, accountability, and the importance of self-defense training for young women. I'll be there. She hung up. The room erupted in protests, threats, pleas. Hannah tuned them all out, focusing instead on the messages still flooding her phone, each one a story of pain, fear, survival. Each one a reminder that hiding hadn't just hurt her, it had abandoned others who needed to see strength modeled. You're suspended, Coleman announced desperately, pending investigation. No, the resource officer corrected. She's not. I've reviewed the footage. Clear self-defense against assault with a weapon. The 4 aggressors, however, will be arrested as soon as they're medically cleared. This is insane, Peterson stood up. One girl can't just change everything, Hannah finished. Watch me. She stood to leave, but Victoria's parents burst through the door. Richard Hayes, town council member and real estate mogul, looked ready for war. His wife clutched pearls that probably cost more than most cars. You, Richard pointed at Hannah, You attacked my daughter. I'll sue you into poverty. Your daughter assaulted me with scissors while attempting to force me to help her cheat on the SAT. Hannah interrupted calmly. It's all on video, multiple angles. Would you like to see? She pulled up one of the videos already circulating, holding her phone so everyone could watch Victoria's premeditated attack. The cruel words, the weapons, the celebration of causing pain. Mrs. Hayes gasped. That's not… Victoria would never… She did, Hannah said simply. For 3 years, she's terrorized students while you enabled her. Today, she learned that actions have consequences. It's a lesson you should have taught her yourselves. How dare you lecture us about parenting? Richard's face turned purple. You're nothing, nobody, some charity case with anger issues. She's a straight-A student with perfect attendance who's never had a single disciplinary action until today. Coleman admitted reluctantly, while your daughter has multiple academic integrity violations, we've been encouraged to overlook. The implications hung heavy in the air. You authorized this. Richard turned on Coleman. You let this violent psychopath choose your next words very carefully. David Morrison stood, and even at 52, his presence filled the room with quiet menace. You're speaking about my daughter. Your daughter is going to prison. Your daughter is going to therapy. Sarah Morrison countered. She needs it, desperately, and you need to ask yourself why she became someone who takes joy in hurting others. Hannah's phone buzzed with another text, this one from a name that made her smile, Madison Park. The quiet girl from her AP literature class who wrote beautiful poetry but never spoke up. You were amazing. I've been carrying pepper spray since freshman year because of them. Today was the first time I didn't feel like I needed it. Thank you for showing us we're not powerless. I have to go, Hannah announced. You can't just leave, Coleman protested. Actually, she can, the resource officer said. She's not under arrest. She's not suspended. And unless you want to illegally detain a minor who defended herself against assault, I suggest you let her go. Hannah headed for the door, pausing only to look back at the adults who'd failed so spectacularly. For 3 years, I hid because I was afraid of being seen as a monster, but the real monsters were operating in plain sight while you looked away. That ends now. She left them to their arguments and accusations, walking into a hallway that had transformed. Students lined both sides, some filming, some crying, many applauding. The invisible girl had become suddenly, undeniably visible. Hannah, or a voice called out, Jasmine Rodriguez, president of the art club, rushed forward. I'm organizing a rally. Students for Safe Schools, will you speak? When? Tomorrow, lunch period. We're expecting hundreds. Hannah thought of Rebecca, of her promise, of all the scared kids who needed to see courage modeled. I'll be there. By the time she reached the parking lot, news vans had indeed arrived. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras tracked her movement. Her parents flanked her protectively, but Hannah stopped at their car. Decision made. I need to do this, she told them. We know, her mother said simply. We're proud of you, baby girl. Even though I fought. Because you fought, her father corrected. For the right reasons. At the right time. With the right amount of force. That's what we trained you for. Hannah hugged them both, then turned to face the cameras. The questions came rapid fire. Hannah, do you regret using violence? Were you really a childhood MA champion? What message does this send to other students? She waited for quiet, then spoke clearly. 3 years ago, I made a mistake that hurt someone I loved. I've spent every day since hiding from who I am, thinking that would somehow make amends. But hiding didn't help anyone. It just allowed bullies to operate without consequence. She looked directly into the nearest camera, imagining all the scared kids who might be watching. To anyone out there who's been hurt, who's afraid, who thinks they have to accept abuse, you don't. You have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to exist without fear. And if the adults in your life won't protect you, then learn to protect yourself. But remember, true strength isn't about hurting others. It's about having the power to hurt them and choosing not to unless absolutely necessary. Will you teach others? A reporter called out. Yes, starting Monday, Millbrook High will have a self-defense club open to all students, because everyone deserves to feel safe. Her phone rang one more time. Rebecca again. Hey, superstar, turn around. Hannah spun to see a van pulling up, modified for wheelchair access. The door opened, and there she was, Rebecca Chen. 3 years older, but with the same bright smile that had made them instant friends at age 6. Surprise, Rebecca called out. Thought you could use backup for your first day back in the spotlight. Hannah ran to her, cameras forgotten, everything forgotten, except the friend whose forgiveness had never wavered even when Hannah couldn't forgive herself. I'm sorry, she whispered into their hug. I'm so sorry. I know, Rebecca whispered back. Now stop apologizing and start teaching. We've got work to do. As they faced the cameras together, the fighter and the survivor. The girl who'd hidden and the girl who'd never stopped believing in her, Hannah, felt something shift inside her chest. The weight she'd carried for 3 years didn't disappear, but it transformed into something else purpose. The world needs strong women who protect others, Rebecca said into the nearest microphone. Today, my best friend reminded everyone what that looks like. Tomorrow, we start teaching others to do the same. The crowd of students behind them erupted in cheers. Videos of the moment would go viral within hours, sparking nationwide conversations about bullying, self-defense, and the price of silence. Victoria Hayes would enter intensive therapy, eventually writing a public apology that seemed genuine. Her 3 followers would face legal consequences that taught them what their parents hadn't. Mr. Sullivan would quietly retire. Principal Coleman would implement sweeping reforms, but all of that was still to come. In this moment, Hannah Morrison stood in a high school parking lot, visible and unashamed, surrounded by people who saw her not as a monster, but as a hero. Her phone lit up with one final message. This one from her father. Control isn't about holding back, baby girl. It's about choosing when to let go. Today you chose perfectly. Hannah smiled, slipping the phone into her pocket. Tomorrow there would be interviews, classes to organize, probably more fights to navigate bureaucratic ones this time. But today, the mouse had remembered she was a lion, and she would never hide again.